So today, friends, we start a sermon series for the next couple of weeks. We'll be talking about the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus takes his disciples up a mountain to deliver his most important teachings. In fact, throughout Christian history, thousands of books have been written on the Sermon on the Mount. And I want you to know that this last week I read every one of them. So I hope you are ready for the next 3 hours. You might make it in time for the Super Bowl. Maybe not. Who's rooting for the Chiefs today? Who's rooting for the other team? I only say that because one time when the quarterback of that team was playing, he took off his helmet, and my wife said, "That is one attractive man." And I said, "Put your helmet back on, mister." So I'm rooting for the Super Bowls. Who is rooting for the commercials? That's yes. Let's go commercials. Speaking of the Super Bowl, I came across a story this last week about a woman named Katie Sowers. Oh. Yeah. Some of you have heard of Katie Sowers. Katie Sowers is a coach for that other team. It shall not be named. There was a story about her going around social media this last week, and I thought, oh, that's cool. There's a woman coaching a football team, and that team made it to the Super Bowl. That's a big win for equality. Many churches won't allow women to teach men about religion. And here's a woman teaching men about football. In many ways, sports are ahead of the church, so good for you, Katie Sowers. Woo! But when I clicked on the link, I read the story about her, and it was even more interesting than that. Katie went to Goshen College in Indiana, where she played on a basketball scholarship. When her eligibility ran out in 2009, she applied to be a volunteer basketball coach for the school that she just played for. Katie was a good player and a good teammate. But she had one problem for being a coach at Goshen College, and that is that Katie is a lesbian. When she applied, the coach told her that a lot of parents were worried, quote, about their daughter being around someone who is gay. That's not something they would want around the team, the coach told Katie. Katie was devastated, obviously, that her own school that she played so hard for had now rejected her. Not because she lacked coaching skills, but because of who she is. Katie says this about her painful experience. It was something that I grieved about for a while, but I decided I had to move on. Indeed, Katie did move on. Being rejected as a basketball coach allowed Katie to explore what she calls her true love, football. When she was a child, Katie loved to play football with the boys in her neighborhood. So after Goshen rejected Katie, she played for the Women's Football Alliance, and then she was accepted as a coach for the Atlanta Falcons. Eventually, Katie landed a job with the San Francisco, that team that I'm not going to say. And in a few hours, she will be the first female coach to coach a team in the Super Bowl, which is cool, yes. But the reason that I'm telling you this is because Katie has been getting a lot of attention this week. When NBC Sports asked Katie about her feelings for Goshen College now, these many years later, Katie says this: I loved my time at Goshen, and I love everything Goshen College represents. This moment was tough, but the reality is we all experience rejection and adversity in our lives. Now, I don't know anything about Katie's religious beliefs. I don't know if she goes to church or has any belief in Jesus or if she has ever even heard the Sermon on the Mount, and I don't care. Because what I do know is that her response to being rejected is a sign that she is living the Beatitudes that Jesus taught. Jesus says this, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Someone may think it's a stretch to claim that Katie was persecuted because she was rejected by her school. But the fact remains that 28 states in our union, including Indiana, where Katie's college is, still to this day do not have state laws that protect our LGBTQ siblings from discrimination when it comes to employment, housing, public accommodations, or other forms of discrimination based on sexual orientation. But I want you to notice how Katie responds without a sense of hatred or retaliation. She doesn't hold Goshen's decision in 2009 against the school. In fact, she says that she loved her experience there. She didn't get there easily. She got there step by step, by moving beyond resentment towards something like mercy. Jesus' ethic in the Beatitudes is really non-retaliation. Katie was able to respond to this painful experience by moving on and trusting that something bigger would happen in her life. Frequently, when bad things happen in our lives, we have two options. We can get bitter, or we can get better. And Katie chose to get better. But I also want you to notice something else Jesus says. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. The word righteousness is generally thought of as a religious term. Righteousness is about our relationship with God, but in the original Greek language, the word righteousness comes from the word dikaiosune. It can be translated as righteousness with or right relationship with God. But dikaiosune can also be translated as justice or just relationships with others. So does this sound different to you? Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be filled. Righteousness with God and justice with our fellow human beings are two sides of the same coin. You cannot be right with God if you are not right with your fellow human beings. So when Jesus calls us to be non-retaliatory, to not seek revenge, it does not mean that we just sit back and let injustice of the world fly by. In a country where more than half the states in our union do not protect LGBTQ siblings from discrimination, do you hunger and thirst to make our country a more just place for our LGBTQ siblings? Then blessed are you. Jesus also says, blessed are the peacemakers. But Jesus did not make peace with violence or with war. In fact, he resisted both at every turn. We have the largest military in the world, and if Democrats and Republicans can agree on anything, it's that we need to spend more money on our military to expand it so that we can retaliate, or, when we see fit, strike first. But Jesus flips that mentality upside down. That is not how you make true peace, according to Jesus. And so blessed are you when you make peace as a nation. Blessed are you when you make peace with your spouse. Blessed are you when you make peace with your neighbors. And blessed are you when you make peace with your friends and with your enemies. Not through violence, not through war, not through revenge, but through nonviolent, peaceful means. And I'll end with this. Jesus says, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. And I think this is so key for us to understand, because throughout the Bible, God is associated with mercy. In fact, the prophet Hosea says that God desires mercy and not sacrificial violence. Why is that? Because God is mercy. The word for mercy in Hebrew is hesed. It means mercy, but it can also be translated as steadfast love. So God desires steadfast love. Why is that? Because as the first letter of John says, God is love. And so blessed are you when you show steadfast love, for you will receive steadfast love in return. That, my friends, is spiritual physics in Christianity and in all of the great religions. You see, what Jesus is trying to get at here is to invite us to participate in the very life of God. When you allow the divine life to flow through you, you allow God's steadfast love and mercy to flow through you. Like Katie, we can respond to slights or disappointments by grieving that they happen in our lives and then moving one step at a time forward, trusting in the way of God's love and justice. Because here's the basic law of spiritual physics. The more divine, steadfast love you give away, the more divine, steadfast love enters into your heart. The Sermon on the Mount in general, and the Beatitudes in particular, are some of Jesus' most radical and difficult teachings, and over the next few weeks we will be exploring them some more. But they are guided by one thing: God's non-retaliatory, war-ending, justice-seeking, steadfast love. Precisely because God is steadfast love. And so, my friends, may we receive that love into our hearts, and may we share it with one another now and forevermore. Amen.
Hi everyone, this is Adam Erickson, reminding you that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome at Clackamas United Church of Christ. We are located at 15303 Southeast Webster Road in Milwaukee, Oregon. We are so glad that you found this podcast. All of our podcasts will always be free, but we rely on the financial support of our members and our friends. If this podcast meant something to you, you can help us out in two ways. You can share this podcast with someone you think might be interested. You can also help us financially by donating to the wonderful missions we have here at Clackamas United Church of Christ. To do so, you can go to our Facebook page, our website, or our YouTube channel, and click on the Donate Here button. Our worship services start at 10:30 on Sundays, except for during the summer months when we start at 10 o'clock. If you would like more information on our church, you can visit our website at c-ucc.org. You can also reach out to me through email at adam@c-ucc.org. Until next time, grace and peace be with you.